All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to today's masterclass brought to you by Leading Peers. I'm so excited and I'm so honored to go through today's class with you. And in a moment, we're going to talk about profit acceleration and how to unlock $100,000 or more of additional hidden profits in your business starting today. And I appreciate you tuning in. You may be sitting at home at your desk watching and listening to this. You may be at work in the office listening to this. You may be at the gym tuned in, or you may be in transit somewhere in between. Wherever you are, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'm curious and I'm interested. How many of you out there, have you ever wondered what it would be like to double your profits in the next 12 months? And how many of you have ever wondered what it would be like to have a sense of total freedom in your life? And have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a feeling of complete fulfillment? And would you like me to share today how to get more freedom in your life? And how many of you want to learn the key strategies that you can implement starting now to get your business firing on all cylinders? And how many of you want to put more profits in your pockets starting right away? We're going to talk about all of that and more. You're about to discover in a moment, we're going to talk about 5 proven strategies to uncover hidden profits in your business. And in a moment, we're going to talk about the 3 common myths that most business owners struggle with. And in a moment, we're going to talk about the number 1 thing that you can do to separate your business apart from all your competition. And my promise for you here today with this masterclass is to give you some insights and some actionable tips that you can implement starting right now to transform your business and to transform your life. But as you're sitting here listening to this, you may be faced with a number of problems currently. You might be feeling overwhelmed or overworked, feeling like you're controlled by the shackles of your own business. Or maybe you're feeling stuck where you are and unable to break through to that next level. And maybe you just lack a clear action plan for your business and you're uncertain about the steps that you need to take over the next 6 to 12 months to really boost your profits. And overcoming these problems is exactly why I created the Profits to Pockets program, to help small business owners buy back their time, have more freedom in their lives, and put more profits into their pockets. And why are we going to talk about these specific strategies here in a moment? Well, these strategies are used worldwide by industry-leading companies all over the globe. They're applicable to businesses of all sizes and in every industry. And we use a combination of professional expertise as well as AI assistance to deliver massive insights and massive transformations. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this is all great, but my business is in a pretty good place right now. I don't need to take action right now. And I might challenge you to think about why now? No, well, here's the thing. Fortune favors the bold. And the opportunity cost of not taking action is too great. There's too much to be left on the table. And entrepreneurs almost never regret taking immediate action. But I can't tell you how many times I have somebody come up to me and they say, Joe, I wish I would have taken action sooner. Now, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I started my first business when I was in 6th grade, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. I then went on to earn 2 different business degrees to learn the theory of business from the textbooks and from the classroom. I went and built and scaled businesses through global expansions from being just an American company to operating all over the globe onto 9-figure exits. I've spent the last 14 years as a coach, consultant, and speaker working with many Fortune 500 companies out there. And I've worked in various industries all over the world with companies that have anywhere from 2 employees in one location to 115,000 employees in over 100 countries around the world. Companies that are doing as little as $250,000 in revenue to as much as $18 billion in revenue. And what I realized is that there's a lot of patterns. A lot of the same strategies work for companies of all sizes and in all industries. But here's the thing, the big boys, the major corporations, they have all the strategies, but it takes a long time to implement. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, and a lot of good ideas fizzle away and fade away through the chain of command. But then on the other end of the spectrum, small business owners, they can move quickly. They can make fast decisions, but they don't always have the right strategies. Or they get distracted by shiny object syndrome, or they spend too much time working in the business and not enough time working on the business. And that's why I created the Profits to Pockets program, is to bridge that gap. Take the strategies that big boys are using and bring those to the local business owner, to the small businesses, to the local entrepreneurs, so that they can run a more optimal business, so that they can have more freedom in their lives. And with your permission, I'd like to take you on a bit of a journey and bring you all the way back to my humble beginnings, if that's all right. Now, if you're sitting here listening and watching this masterclass, there's a pretty good chance that you were brought into this world through childbirth. And for me, it was no different. The average pregnancy lasts about 39 weeks, and babies come out somewhere around 7 or 8 pounds. But for me, I was so excited to make my way into this world. I was so excited to start living this life that I couldn't wait to get out. And I came out at just 29 weeks. And I was born 2 pounds, 12 ounces. Extremely premature. So I had to spend the first several months of my life trapped in this glass box, laying in this incubator underneath these heat lamps, just still cooking, holding on for my life, wondering if I was ever going to make it out, wondering where my mother was. Because statistically, the likelihood, the chances for preemie babies that early are very slim. And it turned out that my mother was a few floors away in the same hospital in her own trapped box, stuck in a coma, wondering if she was ever going to make it out and if she would ever see her baby. And our family was home wondering if either of us would ever make it home. Now, I'm happy to say that both my mother and I did make it out of the hospital, and we were both alive and well today. But for a premature baby, that was just the beginning of my challenges. Now, my mother, since she was a nurse, she had the foresight to bring me to a developmental specialist to get an understanding of how I would progress. So when I was 7 months old, she brings me into this doc, has him run his tests, do his analysis, run his exams, brings her back into his office, says, "Ann, go ahead, sit down. Based on what I see in your son, compared to other cases of similar babies, I'm sorry to say, but there's no chance he's ever going to live a normal life. Because in fact, honestly, I'd be lucky if he can even ever walk." Now, that lit a fire inside of my mother. And her initial reaction, so my mom is a hard-headed Italian-American woman. And this is back in the early 90s. So her reaction to that moment was to reach across the desk, grab this doc by his collar, punch him square in the nose. And she said, "How dare you say that about my son? Who the hell do you think you are that you can look at him for 30 minutes and tell me that his whole life is doomed?" And in that moment, she had a choice. She could either accept the diagnosis that I was never going to develop and never live a normal life and never walk, or she could use that fire as fuel to get all the help that she could to help me develop. And that's what she did. So things that other kids learned how to do naturally or just did naturally, I had to be taught how to do. They had to bring in a nutritionist to get me to eat. And they had to bring in a speech therapist to show me how to talk. And they had to bring in a physical therapist to move my little legs to show me how to walk. And what that did is that instilled this level of relentless work ethic and determination that I would carry throughout everything in my life that point forward. So I couldn't wait to start working. I couldn't wait to start showing value to the world. And I begged my parents to let me get my first job when I was just in 5th grade. And the only job I could get at the time was delivering newspapers. So I'd rollerblade around town. My mom would follow me in the minivan, making sure that I was safe and carrying the extra papers that I couldn't carry in my sack. Then the next year, I started my first business. And I was selling snow cones out of the driveway. I had a couple of my friends working for me, and the adults that would come by and buy snow cones, they would always say, Joe, you're such a little entrepreneur. I was like, entrepreneur what? What is that word? I had no idea what that meant, but it planted a seed. And I knew that ultimately I wanted to run my own business and I wanted to help business owners with theirs as well. So then I went on to college. I went the traditional route. My parents are very conservative. My mom was a nurse. My dad was an insurance agent. And this was around the time of the financial crisis. So I went the traditional route, played it safe, and went to school to learn business, to learn the theory of it. And while I was there, I embarked on a career in sales because I recognized that we were always going to be selling something, and those would be invaluable skills to have. So I mastered personal sales, and then I went on to lead and train other teams how to do it as well. And I coached nationally ranked sales teams around the country. And from there, I said, okay, I want to understand more, and I want to learn different types of businesses and different industries and how they operate. So I embarked on a career in consulting. And that allowed me to see behind the scenes how major companies are operate, how they structured, and what they do well as some things that they don't do as well. And that was all going great. I was living abroad in London, working with companies all over the world, and then all of a sudden, boom, global pandemic hits. Companies slow down their operations. They pull back on their spending. There's no more travel in the world. For 18 months, I was locked in an apartment in London with nowhere to go but the grocery store. And around that same time, I suffered a few personal injuries, as well as some personal challenges. And my whole life got flipped upside down. And I had to sit there and think, okay, what am I going to do now? And that is when my entrepreneurial journey was reborn. That is when I came up with the Profits to Pockets program, was to bring the experience that I had working with these corporations to the small business owner that I'd always identified with since I was in 6th grade. Because what I realized is that more profits equals more freedom. But to get more freedom, you have to break through challenges. And as you're sitting here watching this masterclass and listening in, you're faced with one of a number of challenges. Maybe there's a problem you have, but you don't want. Or maybe there's a result you want, but you don't have. Or maybe you just don't have a coach or a mentor showing you the path and guiding you along the way. And I've been at all three of these places. And again, that's why I created the Profits to Pockets program, is to help small business owners grow their businesses so they could profit more, so they could live a life with more freedom. But look, it's not just about the bottom line. It's not just about the profits. The bigger reason why I do this, the thing that really gets me out of bed every morning, is to empower business owners to live a fulfilling life with no regrets, knowing that they exhausted all the strategies and all the resources they could to get the most out of their business and their life. Because I don't know about you, but I've heard this story far too many times. People that get to 60, 70, 80 years old, and they have all these regrets, all these wishes. They say, I wish I would have worked less. I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have taken more risks. I wish. No wishes. You got to take action now. You got to transform your business, transform your life now so that you don't have those regrets. Because hearing those stories breaks my heart. And I don't want to get to those ages and have those regrets. And I don't want you to either. That's the real reason why I came up with the Profits to Pockets program and the thing that gets me out of bed every morning. And you may say, okay, Joe, this sounds great. What's different? I'm not here to sell you anything that you don't want or need. And I am here to help you come up with a detailed action plan of how you can put more profits in your pockets without sacrificing your sanity or your freedom. And in fact, by unlocking more freedom. But what I found is that there's 3 common myths that most business owners struggle with. They think, maybe they think I can do it all on my own. I don't need a coach. I don't need a mentor showing me the ropes, helping me shorten the timeline. Or they think, I can't afford to spend the money that it's going to take to optimize my business. This sounds expensive. Or they say, you know, I really can't spare the time that it's going to take to put more profits into my pockets. And if you're sitting there saying, you know, I can do it all on my own, or I don't have the money, or I don't have the time, then maybe you need more help than you think. And sometimes it takes that we need to put our ego aside to get the right amount of help. And that's why I'm here to help you with today's masterclass, because I want to talk about the 5 key strategies to uncover more profits in your business. First one is establishing your market dominating position. Then we'll talk about creating a compelling offer. Then we'll dive into locking in a pricing strategy, bundling together products and services, and implementing upselling and cross-selling strategies. And these strategies have been used by industry-leading companies to dominate their industries, dominate their marketplaces, and rise to the top. And the first one is the most important. That's why it's number one, is establish your market dominating position. This is the number one thing that will separate your business apart from all of your competitors. So as you're sitting here watching this, I want you to ask yourself, what benefits do I offer? What benefits do you offer to your target market that separates you from your competitors? And are those benefits hot button topics for your prospects? Do they solve their key challenges and issues? And if I were to sit down and talk to all of your employees and ask them about your market dominating position, would they all give the same answer? And here's a company that has done this extremely well, is Apple. They dominate the smartphone market. And they haven't done that by just creating the best smartphones. That's up for debate and interpretation depending on who you talk to. But what Apple has done really well is position themselves uniquely in the market. They say that we're all about challenging the status quo. We're all about thinking differently. And we believe that there's more to life. Oh, and we just happen to make incredible products that are beautiful, easy to use, and seamlessly integrate all together. And that's allowed them to capture 23.6% of the global smartphone market, 50% of the US market, and 75% of the global revenue by just positioning themselves a little bit differently. The next strategy that I want to talk about is creating a compelling offer. So ask yourself, does your current marketing make your prospects a compelling offer? And does your offer provide unparalleled value to your target prospects? And are you currently using risk reversal in your offers so that prospects find it nearly impossible to buy from anyone else but you? And who's done this incredibly well? It's Netflix. Netflix came in and gave such a compelling offer that reinvented the entire industry. You know, folks were used to going into Blockbuster and physically picking up DVDs. Then Netflix introduced the mailing service where you mail them back and forth. But then in 2007, they introduced something totally new. They decided to leverage the internet with something compelling and irresistible with streaming services. Hey, you don't need to worry about the mail. You don't need to go into the store. Just sign into the internet and you can watch the movies right from home. And when they did that, they had 7 million subscribers and they were doing $1.2 billion in 2007. Over the next 3 years, they kept gaining more market share to the point where Blockbuster had to file bankruptcy. 4 years after that, they forced Blockbuster to close its doors and they surpassed Amazon and Hulu. And at that point, they had 50 million subscribers and they were doing $5.5 billion in revenue. Fast forward to 2023, they've got 35% of the market share for streaming services with 232 million subscribers, and they did $31.6 billion. All because they had a compelling offer. The next strategy that I want to talk about is locking in your pricing. Okay, when's the last time that you increased your prices? We talk all about rising costs. We talk about inflation. We talk about everything got more expensive in the pandemic. Your costs have gone up. But when's the last time your prices went up in line with the costs? And do you have any value-added services that your customers perceive to be more valuable? And is there anything you could communicate that would raise the perceived value of your products or services? Because here's the thing. There's always such a focus on price. But customers don't buy price. What they really buy is value. And as long as the value is greater than the price, you've got a sale every time. And there's different ways to do that. And a company that's played with their pricing strategy incredibly well is Starbucks. Starbucks in 2016 decided to increase the price of each beverage by 5 to 20 cents. And that was only a 1 to 2% increase. But what that did is that drove an 11% increase to their revenues, an additional $2.1 billion. So let's think about this. If a cup of coffee costs $5 one day, and then you go into Starbucks the next day and it costs $5.20, are you going to throw your hands up in the air and say, oh, I don't want the coffee? No, you're still going to get the coffee. In fact, you probably won't even notice that they raised the price. But a lot of times as business owners, we worry that if we raise our prices, we're going to scare our customers away. But as long as we can communicate that the value still outweighs the price, you still have a sale every time. And Starbucks continues this pricing strategy. They continue this model. 2018, they raised their prices another 1 to 2% and drove another 11% to their revenue. In 2023, after the pandemic settled, they raised their prices 2 to 4% and drove another 13.6% to the revenue. Slight increases in prices to keep up with the market. The next strategy I want to talk about is bundling together products and services. So ask yourself, what products and services do you offer? And what complementary products and services could you offer, either through your own fulfillment, through affiliates, through partnerships, through joint ventures that your customers need? And which of these could you bundle together to create a higher value package for your prospects? And a company that does this incredibly well is Google. They're Google Workspaces. They give you a whole suite of different products. You know, how many of you remember having an AOL email address or a Yahoo email address or a Hotmail email address? But here's the thing, that was just email. Google offered so much more, and that allowed them to dominate their industry by bundling together all of these products and services. Now, the last strategy, the fifth strategy I want to talk about is implementing upselling and cross-selling. So ask yourself, do you have a higher quality or a higher quantity of what your customers just purchased that you could offer them? And what other products or services do your customers need or want? And can you offer them to those at the point of purchase? You know, Amazon does an incredible job with this. When you buy something, they show you customers that bought X also bought Y. Maybe you'd be interested in that. But another company that's done this really well is Uber. You know, in 2017, it was just a ride-sharing service, and they did about $8 billion in revenue that year. Then the next year, in 2018, they cross-sold Uber Eats. And they said, hey, let's leverage the same network of drivers to deliver food right to your doorstep. And that brought in another $3.4 billion in 1 year. They increased their revenue by 43%. Then in 2019, they launched Uber One as a subscription service to bundle together Uber Eats and Uber Ride Sharing, which drove an additional 24.8% and $2.8 billion to their revenue. So in 2 years, they nearly doubled their revenue by upselling and cross-selling to their customers. Now, here's the thing. These 5 strategies are not groundbreaking. You may be sitting there thinking, Joe, these all sound pretty basic and pretty simple. This sounds like business 101 or 201. And if you're thinking that, you're absolutely right. And I'm not here to sell you the shiniest, fanciest new AI software, new techniques, new social media strategies, any of that. This is business fundamentals. And by executing these strategies, these companies have been able to grow to the top of their industries and take over the global marketplaces. Simplicity. And you can do the same with your business. So, as you're sitting there, I want to ask you, have you received value so far today? And if you have, would it be okay with you if I shared how I can help? This is all why I created the Profits to Pockets program, to help small business owners have more growth in their business so they can have more profits and ultimately have more freedom so they can live a life without any regrets. So imagine this. Imagine being in total control and being able to go where you want, when you want, with whoever you want, how you want. That's what it's all about. That is the true human experience. And there's 5 keys to unlocking true freedom in your life. The first is pain. We must identify the major pain points that you're facing, the major roadblocks that you're struggling with, the barriers in your business. From there, once we identify those, we can come up with a plan, an execution plan of how to overcome those challenges. Once you execute on that, you drive more profits into the business. When you have more profits in the business, you can put more of that into your pockets. When you have more profits in your pockets, you can add more pleasure into your life. Because in life, we're doing one of 2 things. We're either running away from pain or running towards pleasure. And with profits to pockets, we do both. But it all starts with identifying the major pain points and coming up with an action plan. And that's why we have our profit acceleration assessments. With these assessments, we dive into the details of your business to help identify and uncover the major pain points that you're struggling with. From there, we discover the biggest areas of opportunity for your business moving forward. That allows us to calculate the estimated business valuation of a before and after snapshot. We can also see before and after profit projections of once we implement these strategies, what the new profits can look like. And we give you a personalized roadmap of how to implement those and the steps to take moving forward. And here's an example of a recent acceleration assessment that we did with Patrick's Automotive. And Patrick came to us. His business, his shop had been passed down from his father and had reached a point where it sort of plateaued and was even declining a little bit. And he was doing about $2.5 million in revenue, but only pulling out $125,000 in profit. We looked at a few of the key levers in the assessment, and we were able to come up with a new annual gross revenue of $2.9 million and a new annual profit of nearly $400,000. So he more than tripled his net profit, which over the course of 5 years would be an additional $1.3 million in profits. So ask yourself, what would you do with an additional $1.3 million in profits over the next 5 years? Would that make a massive impact on your business and a massive impact on your life? And the other cool thing with Patrick is not just the benefits of while he's running the business, but what happens when he goes to sell. After implementing these strategies and pulling these levers, we're able to advance his valuation, which was $672,000 at first, to $880,000. So when Patrick is ready to retire and sell off the shop, he can do so knowing that he'll get what the business is worth, and he can ride off into the sunset happily ever after. And again, that's just pulling a few of the strategies. That's just looking at a few of the levers. We have over 35 more strategies that we dive into with our full profit acceleration assessments to help you uncover hidden profits in your business. So as you're listening to this, I want you to think about to yourself, if all this did for you was allow you to have greater confidence in the direction of your business, would that be worth it for you? And if all this did for you was get you involved in a community support structure of other entrepreneurs, other small business owners that are working to optimize their business, drive their profits, have more freedom in their lives, would that be worth it for you? And if all this did was allow you to increase the valuation of your company so that way you got more money when you're ready to sell, would that be worth it for you? And if all this did was put more profits in your pockets, would that be worth it for you? And if all this did was allow for you to have more freedom in your life, would that be worth it for you? Because that's what we're all about, is putting more profits in your pockets so you can buy back your time, have more freedom in your lives, and live a fulfilling life without having any regrets and without having any wishes of things you would have done differently. So I appreciate you for joining in and tuning in and listening today to this masterclass. Again, my name is Joe Frigolette. And if you want to learn more about what we do, if you want to have us do a deep dive into your business and do a profit acceleration assessment, then reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn at Joe Frigolette. You can find me on Instagram at Joey Friggs, or you can submit a request on our website, profits2pockets.com. Thank you so much again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everybody.